In an unusual and controversial move, a mayoral election in a Japanese municipality was scheduled to coincide with the National House of Councillors upper house election. While on the surface it appeared to be a strategic effort to save resources and increase voter turnout, the decision instead sparked a series of complications, particularly for local candidates. The overlap resulted in unexpected restrictions on campaign activities, leading to confusion, frustration, and in one case, a candidate's sarcastic protest, "Are you telling me to face the sea?" This remark, made by an independent candidate who was prohibited from delivering opening campaign speeches in front of the station due to overlapping election rules, encapsulates the broader dysfunction caused by this dual scheduling. The story, though local in nature, reveals a complex intersection of national and local electoral processes, and how rigid bureaucracy can sometimes derail democratic engagement. A rare election collision. The decision to hold the mayoral election on the same day as the House of Councillors election was primarily driven by efficiency. Administrative officials argued it would reduce costs, consolidate polling operations, and potentially increase voter turnout by encouraging residents to participate in both elections in a single visit to the polls. However, what may have seemed like a neat solution on paper quickly turned into a logistical and legal quagmire. The Public Offices Election Act, Japan's primary law governing election procedures, has detailed and sometimes rigid rules governing campaign conduct, especially when multiple elections are held concurrently. These rules are designed to ensure fairness and clarity, but in this instance, they instead led to unusual consequences. Candidates for the mayoral post found themselves unable to carry out traditional campaign rituals, such as giving opening speeches in high-traffic public areas like train stations. Campaign muzzled at the starting line. In Japanese elections, the campaign period officially begins with the Koshiki Kikan, the official campaign announcement day. Traditionally, candidates deliver energetic opening speeches in front of stations or municipal buildings. These speeches are crucial in reaching commuting voters and setting the tone for their campaign. However, due to legal constraints surrounding national-level campaigns, candidates for local office were barred from using these locations, as priority was given to candidates running in the upper house election. One mayoral candidate recounted their experience. "I had my speech notes ready, the banner was rolled out, and the volunteers were positioned. Suddenly, we were told to stand down. It was absurd. They suggested we move toward the beach instead. Are you telling me to face the sea?" I said. It was both comical and tragic. This frustration was echoed by other candidates who found their campaign strategies upended. Some scrambled to find alternative locations, such as back alleys, parking lots, or schoolyards, but these rarely offered the visibility or foot traffic of a train station. Limited airtime, limited reach. In addition to location-based restrictions, local candidates also found themselves edged out in terms of media coverage. Public broadcasting stations, bound by strict neutrality and time allocation rules, prioritized coverage of the national election. As a result, mayoral candidates had less exposure, fewer televised debates, and limited airtime for policy broadcasts. Some mayoral hopefuls attempted to turn to social media, but with limited resources and campaign staff, many found it difficult to compete with the slick, well-funded digital operations of national candidates. Others simply lacked the digital literacy or infrastructure to launch a compelling online campaign. "It's not just about fairness, it's about survival," one veteran campaign manager remarked. "You're essentially asking local candidates to run a marathon with their shoelaces tied together." Voters left in the dark. The scheduling decision also created confusion among voters. In surveys conducted in the lead-up to the election, many citizens admitted they were unaware that a mayoral vote was taking place alongside the national election. The overlap blurred the visibility of local issues, which were already struggling to break through the noise of national debates on defense, taxes, and foreign policy. "I only found out about the mayoral election when I saw the name of a local candidate on the sample ballot," said a 45-year-old office worker. "I hadn't heard anything from any of them. No posters, no vans, no speeches. It felt like a silent election." This lack of awareness was compounded by a scarcity of local coverage in newspapers and television, which focused heavily on the high-profile national races. Legal gray zones and bureaucratic inflexibility. The Public Offices Election Act was designed at a time when campaigns were more analog and less dynamic. Its stipulations around location use, sound trucks, and broadcasting make sense in isolation but do not account for the realities of concurrent elections. For example, sound trucks, a popular form of mobile campaigning, were also subjected to restrictions in certain areas due to potential noise overlaps with national campaigns. In some neighborhoods, mayoral campaign vans were asked to remain silent during scheduled upper house campaign speeches. One legal scholar noted, "The law lacks a mechanism to prioritize or harmonize campaigns when elections overlap. The result is a sort of bureaucratic triage, where local candidates often get the short end of the stick." There have been calls from legal experts and civil society organizations to revisit and revise the law to allow greater flexibility. Some have suggested the creation of designated shared zones, time slots for speech rotation, or even temporary easing of rules when multiple elections collide. Democracy's unintended victims. At its core, this election debacle is a cautionary tale about how democratic institutions, no matter how well-intentioned, can malfunction when over-regulated or poorly coordinated. In this case, the very mechanisms designed to ensure fairness ended up undermining it. While the national candidates continued to campaign with full access to media, stations, and event spaces, their local counterparts struggled to be seen or heard. The electorate, meanwhile, was left unaware or apathetic about decisions that would directly impact their local schools, infrastructure, and public services. Some mayoral candidates have filed formal complaints with the local election commission, and there are growing calls for a post-election review of the scheduling decision. "It's not about winning or losing," one losing candidate remarked. "It's about being given a fair chance to speak, and to be heard." Looking ahead, reform or repeat? As Japan looks toward future elections, the lessons from this unusual overlap are already prompting quiet conversations within the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications. Experts argue that without swift reforms, similar situations will recur, particularly as voter turnout continues to decline and local politics fades from public view. "National elections are important," one political analyst said, "but they shouldn't overshadow the day-to-day governance that local leaders provide." When a mayoral candidate can't even speak at a train station, we have to ask, what kind of democracy are we running? For now, the campaign trail has gone quiet. But the waves stirred by the sea-facing speech ban are unlikely to settle anytime soon. Whether the frustration of candidates will translate into meaningful reform remains to be seen, but if nothing else, this election has laid bare the cracks in the system.